For many years, Johnny Depp was a kind of Hollywood figure people could not look away from. With his wild charm, unusual choices, and unpredictable personality, he became someone audiences remembered instantly. But recently, something has changed. People are no longer whispering about his court battles, his scandals, or the endless drama that once surrounded his name. Instead, the whispers are softer, more curious, and far more personal. Fans, critics, and even casual observers have been talking about Johnny Depp's new appearance, his quiet behavior, and the emotional weight that now seems to follow him into every room. Those who have seen him at recent events say, he looks almost like a different person, a man shaped more by pain and struggle than by fame and applause. Many wonder what he had to go through to end up looking and acting so different. Others believe his transformation says more about the battles he survived than any role he ever played. And to understand why he has changed so deeply, one must return to the beginning. Long before the fame, long before the scandals, and long before the entire world seemed determined to judge him. His transformation did not start in a courtroom or on a movie set. It began in a childhood home filled with fear, instability, constant movement, and emotional wounds that would take decades to show themselves. Johnny Depp's new appearance, the quieter version of himself that the world sees today, is not an accident or a mystery. It is a result of a lifetime of surviving situations most people never talk about, a lifetime of being hurt, misunderstood, pushed into roles he did not want, and fighting battles he never asked for. His story is not about a superstar losing his shine. It is about a man who has carried the weight of trauma since childhood, endured some of the harshest public judgment any actor has ever faced, and still found a way to stand up again. The transformation people keep talking about is not only physical, it is emotional, mental, and deeply human. It shows the cost of being a public figure who spent decades performing for others while quietly trying to protect the fragile parts of himself. It shows the exhaustion of fighting for your name in a world that loves to watch people fall. And most importantly, it shows the strength of someone who refused to disappear, even when the world tried to erase him. This is the story of how Johnny Depp became the man people barely recognize today. Not because he is gone, but because he has changed in ways that reflect every moment of pain, pressure, and survival he experienced on and off the screen. His transformation is turning heads, not because it is shocking, but because it is honest. It reveals the truth behind a life lived in the spotlight and the heavy cost of carrying a reputation that others tried to destroy. Understanding Johnny Depp today requires understanding everything he went through long before the cameras started rolling. And that journey begins in the childhood that shaped him, wounded him, and built the foundation for the man the world sees now. As the years went by, Johnny Depp's journey became something far bigger than the story of a Hollywood star who once ruled the red carpet. His transformation, which many people now talk about with surprise and curiosity, cannot be understood by looking only at the surface. It is not just about the change in his appearance or the shifts in his career choices. It is a much deeper story, shaped by moments of struggle, moments of healing, and moments when he had to rebuild himself from the ground up. When people today say, Johnny Depp looks different, they often do not realize that the person they're comparing him to is someone who lived through years of pressure, heartbreak, and constant public judgment. Anyone who goes through such experiences is bound to change, not only in how they look, but also in how they carry themselves. Depp's transformation is a reflection of that emotional weight, a result of everything he has seen, lost, and fought for. And when you look closely, you can see that behind the new look is a man who has learned to protect his peace, value his close circle, and gives time only to the people and projects that truly matter to him. Another part of this transformation comes from how Depp's personal battles push him to rethink his priorities. In the early days of his career, he was known for being wild, unpredictable, and rebellious. He did not follow Hollywood rules, and that made him interesting and exciting to watch. But as controversy surrounded him, he realized that he could no longer afford to be careless about his life. Every move he made was watched, judged, and discussed. That level of attention can wear down even the strongest person. Over time, Depp learned to slow down and protect himself emotionally. This shift is clearly visible in how he speaks, how he behaves in public, and even how he chooses his projects now. Instead of jumping into every big studio film, he has become selective. He chooses roles that connect with him, stories that feel meaningful, and directors who respect him as an artist. This more thoughtful version of Depp is a big part of what people are noticing today. His transformation is not the sudden change of celebrity trying to rebrand himself. It is the slow, steady evolution of a man who has finally understood what he wants from life. People who have met Depp in recent years often describe him as more calm, gentle, and grounded than before. There is a softness in his voice and a steady pace in his words that were not always there in his younger years. This emotional maturity plays a big role in how he appears today. When a person develops inner calmness, it reflects in their eyes, their posture, and even in the way they smile. Depp's transformation is a perfect example of how a person's inner world can shape their outer world. His experiences, both good and bad, have left marks that are visible, but these marks also carry stories of survival and growth. Whether it is his gray hair, his relaxed fashion style, or the tiredness around his eyes, every detail shows the journey he has walked. And instead of hiding these signs, he wears them openly, almost proudly. It shows that he has accepted himself fully, something many people struggle with even in ordinary life. Of course, the public reaction to his transformation has been mixed. Some people admire how he has embraced his real self, while others try to compare him to how he looked decades ago. But that is the thing about transformation. It is not meant to please everyone. It is meant to reflect who a person truly is at that stage of life. Depp's journey reminds us that aging is not a flaw, change is not a weakness, and reinvention is not something to be ashamed of. It is a natural part of life. The Johnny Depp people see today is the result of battles fought behind closed doors and victories no one else will ever fully understand. His transformation may be surprising to some, but to those who know the full story, it makes perfect sense. Johnny Depp's transformation also connects deeply with the choices he has made in his artistic life. When he first entered Hollywood, he quickly became the face of unconventional roles. Characters that lived outside normal boundaries. Characters who were strange, sensitive, misunderstood, or magical. From Edward Scissorhands to Captain Jack Sparrow, Depp built a career on bringing unusual personalities to life. But over the past few years, his artistic journey has taken a more introspective turn. Instead of performing in loud, extravagant roles that require wild costumes and heavy makeup, he has started choosing characters who feel more real and grounded. This shift in his artistic style mirrors the shift in his personal life. He is not trying to hide behind fantasy anymore. He is stepping forward as himself, older, wiser, and more thoughtful. This change, though subtle, is one of the strongest reasons people are noticing something different about him. His transformation isn't only about physical appearance. It is also about the kind of energy he puts into his work. When a person's internal world changes, their creative expression changes too. And this is exactly what we're seeing with Depp today. Another important part of his transformation is the way he has reconnected with his roots. Before he became a household name, Depp was deeply passionate about music. In fact, music was his first dream. He played in bands long before he stepped into acting, and even during his Hollywood years. He always kept music close to his heart. Recently, he has been leaning more toward this side of himself again, performing on stage with his band. Creating new music and collaborating with old friends has brought a different kind of joy into his life. This musical space is more relaxed and real compared to the strict, controlled environment of a film set. It allows him to breathe more freely, to express himself without the pressure of cameras and critics. Many people who have seen him perform live say that he looks most alive when he is holding a guitar. That spark is a major part of his transformation. When a person returns to something that once gave them pure happiness, it changes them from the inside. It brings back parts of them that were lost along the way. For Depp, reconnecting with music has been a kind of emotional and creative healing, and that healing shows in his overall appearance and mood. Johnny Depp's transformation is also shaped by the relationships he has chosen to keep close. Over the years, he has learned that not everyone who smiles at you is a friend, and not everyone who praises you wants the best for you. This understanding has made him more selective about the people he lets into his inner circle. Today, he surrounds himself with longtime friends, supportive colleagues, and people who appreciate him simply for who he is. These relationships provide a kind of emotional safety that many celebrities never find. In the past, he may have chased the excitement of new friendships or lived in circles filled with constant noise and chaos, but now he prefers peace. He prefers people who listen, who understand him, and who do not judge him for every small move he makes. This shift in his social world has made him calmer and more confident. When a person stops trying to please everyone, they begin to find their real identity. They start to live more honestly, and this honesty becomes visible in their behavior and appearance. Of course, no transformation is easy, especially when it happens under the constant spotlight of fame. Every photo of Depp is analyzed, every expression is turned into speculation, and every minor change is exaggerated by the media. But despite all the noise around him, Depp has managed to stay steady. He has learned to block out the harmful voices and focus on what truly matters. This kind of resilience is rare. Many celebrities struggle with public pressure, but Depp has turned that pressure into strength. His transformation shows that even when the world tries to pull you down, you can choose to rise, grow, and redefine yourself. Today, the world sees a version of Johnny Depp that is more mature, more grounded, and more connected to his true self than ever before. And that is why people everywhere are talking about him again. Not because he is making headlines with scandals, but because he is showing what real personal evolution looks like. Another major part of Johnny Depp's transformation comes from the way he has redefined his relationship with fame. In the early years of his career, fame seemed exciting, like something you play with, bend, or ignore. But time changes everything, especially when fame turns into a constant force that follows you everywhere. For decades, Depp lived with cameras pointed at him from the moment he stepped outside. Everything he did, every smile, every outfit, every small expression, became a headline. Over the last few years, especially during the period when he faced intense public scrutiny, he learned something important. Fame is not a friend. It gives you attention, yes, but it can also take away your privacy, your peace, and your sense of self. Instead of trying to escape or fight it, Depp has learned to set boundaries. He appears less at huge celebrity events, avoids unnecessary interviews, and focuses more on meaningful interactions with fans rather than the chaotic pressure of Hollywood crowds. This shift has helped him regain control over his life, and that control is clearly visible in his new personality. Today, Depp seems more comfortable in his own skin because he no longer lets fame define him, and that kind of self-understanding is a big reason why his transformation stands out so strongly. An equally important part of his transformation is the way he has embraced aging. Hollywood is an industry where beauty is often measured by youth, and many actors struggle to accept the natural process of growing older. But Johnny Depp is not trying to look like the young star he once was. He is not chasing the image of the man who played Jack Sparrow 20 years ago. Instead, he embraces the reality of time. His gray hair, lines on his face, and quieter energy are not things he hides. They are things he carries confidently. This acceptance is refreshing in a world where many celebrities feel pressured to stay eternally young. Depp's transformation reminds people that aging is not something to fear or avoid. It is something to live through with dignity. By embracing his age, he is showing a more authentic side of himself. And authenticity is powerful, especially for someone whose life has been watched and judged for so long. When people see him now, they are not just seeing an older actor. They are seeing a man who has lived fully, survived deeply, and grown stronger through his experiences. Another part of Depp's transformation involved his outlook on creativity and purpose. In the past, he took on roles because they were challenging or because they allowed him to escape into a new world. Today, however, his choices feel more personal. He is drawn to projects that have meaning, that tell stories worth telling, and that allow him to collaborate with people he respects. Instead of trying to impress critics or chase awards, he works for the pure love of the craft. This change in motivation gives his work a different kind of depth. It is clear that he is not trying to prove anything anymore. He has already done that through decades of unforgettable performances. Now his goal is to enjoy creating, to express himself honestly, and to find projects that connect his soul. This shift in purpose has softened him, made him more peaceful, and added a new layer to his transformation. When a person starts doing things for the right reasons, their entire presence changes. And that is exactly what we're seeing with Depp. Lastly, Depp's transformation reflects a new chapter in his emotional and spiritual life. He has spoken openly about learning to slow down, to appreciate moments, and to find comfort in simple things. Whether it's spending time in Europe, painting, writing, or just enjoying silence, Depp has discovered that the world does not always have to be loud to be meaningful. This softer lifestyle has given him space to heal, to breathe, and to rediscover himself after years of public chaos. Many people say that he now carries a kind of quiet strength, a calmness that comes from surviving storms and finding inner peace afterward. That calmness, combined with his artistic spirit and honest acceptance of who he is today, forms the heart of his transformation. It is a transformation not just in appearance, but in mindset, lifestyle, and identity. And this is why people everywhere continue to talk about him. They see not just a celebrity changing, but a human being evolving. Johnny Depp's transformation also highlights how deeply a person can be affected by the opinions of others, especially when those opinions come from millions of strangers. For years, Depp's name was constantly discussed on social media, in magazines, and on television. Every rumor was repeated loudly. Every mistake was turned into a headline, and every personal struggle was analyzed by people who never met him. Living under such a heavy spotlight can break even the strongest personalities. But instead of allowing negativity to destroy him, Depp slowly learned to distance himself from it. His transformation shows that he no longer feels the need to explain himself to the world. He no longer reacts to every story or responds to every accusation. This quiet refusal to engage with negativity is a powerful example of emotional maturity. By stepping away from the noise, he has found more clarity, more peace, and more strength. People often forget that celebrities are human beings with real emotions. Depp's transformation serves as a reminder that no matter how famous someone becomes, they still need space to think, breathe, heal, and rebuild. Another essential part of his transformation is a change in how he treats his own well-being. In the past, he worked long hours, traveled constantly, and devoted himself completely to his craft. He gave so much of his energy to his roles that, at times, he forgot to take care of himself. But now, he seemed to understand that self-care is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Depp has adopted a more balanced lifestyle. He spends time in quiet places surrounded by nature, far from the busy and stressful life of Hollywood. He eats healthier, rests more, and avoids the exhausting cycle of non-stop travel and media appearances. These changes may not sound dramatic, but they have a strong impact on how he looks and feels. When someone begins to prioritize their physical and mental well-being, it shows in their energy, their posture, and even in their face. Depp's calmer appearance, softer expression, and relaxed attitude are clear signs that he has finally learned how to take care of himself without guilt or pressure from the outside world. His transformation also includes a shift in the way he views success. For many years, success for Depp meant box office hits, awards, and massive Hollywood projects. But things are different now. Today, success for him means something much simpler, being able to do what he loves without losing himself. Whether he is acting in a smaller film, playing music on a small stage, or painting quietly in his home, he finds satisfaction in the freedom to create without expectations. This new definition of success has taken away the pressure that once weighed heavily on his shoulders. He no longer feels the need to chase the spotlight or compete with anyone. Instead, he enjoys the present moment and the opportunities he chooses for himself. This shift is a major part of why his transformation feels so genuine. It is not a strategy for publicity or a sudden attempt to change his public image. It is a natural evolution of a person who has learned what truly matters in life. Perhaps one of the most touching aspects of his transformation is the way he interacts with his fans today. Despite everything he has been through, Depp still shows deep gratitude toward the people who support him. He takes his time with them, listens to their stories, signs autographs, and shares moments that feel personal and heartfelt. He knows that many of his fans stood by him during his hardest years, and he shows appreciation through kindness and patience. These interactions reflect a man who has become more gentle, humble, and emotionally open. Fans often say that meeting Depp today feels different from meeting him years ago. There is a sense of calmness and sincerity in his presence, a softness that comes from surviving difficult times and learning compassion along the way. And that emotional warmth is one of the reasons his transformation is turning so many heads. People are not just noticing changes in how he looks. They are noticing changes in his spirit, his behavior, and his attitude toward life. Another powerful part of Johnny Depp's transformation comes from the way he has embraced creativity beyond acting and music. While many people know him as a talented actor and passionate musician, fewer realize how deeply connected he is to the world of visual art. In recent years, Depp has been spending more time painting, sketching, and exploring different forms of artistic expression that allow him to communicate feelings he does not always express through words. This shift toward visual art has given him a new way to understand himself. Painting, especially, has become a quiet space where he can release emotions, reflect on memories, and create something meaningful without pressure or judgment. Friends and colleagues say that when Depp paints, he becomes incredibly focused and peaceful, almost as if he disconnects from the outside world completely. This kind of creativity is therapeutic, helping him heal from the emotional and mental challenges he has faced over the years. Art becomes not just a hobby, but a source of emotional balance. And this inner balance is visible in the calmness he carries in public today. It shows that transformation is not only about changing the outside, but about nurturing the inside as well. Depp's transformation is also tied to the new environments he spends time in. Instead of living full-time in the intense atmosphere of Los Angeles, he now spends long periods in quieter parts of Europe. These peaceful locations offer him space, silence, and a slower lifestyle, things he could not enjoy during the height of his Hollywood years. In these quiet places, he can walk freely without being chased by paparazzi. He can relax without worrying about who is watching, and he can breathe without the constant pressure of fame. Many people underestimate how much environment affects a person's mind and behavior. But when someone moves from chaos to calm, the difference becomes visible very quickly. Depp's softer voice, relaxed posture, and gentler appearance all reflect the peaceful surroundings he now prefers. This change of environment has given him a chance to connect with himself more deeply and rebuild his life away from noise, stress, and negativity. It is one of the reasons he looks and feels different today. Another important aspect of Depp's transformation is the shift in his public communication. In the past, he rarely corrected rumors or defended himself against false stories. He stayed quiet even when the media was loud. But after everything he has experienced, he has become more thoughtful about when to speak and when to remain silent. He chooses his words carefully, focusing on honesty rather than emotion. When he does speak publicly, he expresses gratitude, humility, and clarity instead of frustration or anger. This mature approach to communication has helped rebuild trust with many fans and audiences. It has also made people see him in a new light, not as a mysterious celebrity hiding behind characters, but as a human being who has learned to speak his truth calmly and respectfully. This emotional stability is a powerful part of his transformation. It shows growth, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of how to navigate a world that often misunderstands public figures. Perhaps the most inspiring part of his transformation is how he has learned to let go of the past. For years, Depp lived with memories and experiences that cause him pain. Some of these memories were connected to personal relationships, while others were shaped by media attacks and public judgment. Holding on to such emotional weight can change a person's behavior, appearance, and even health. But letting go, truly letting go, is one of the hardest things a person can do. Depp has slowly learned to release bitterness, anger, and unnecessary fear. He no longer reacts to the past with the same emotional heaviness. Instead, he focuses on the present and the future, choosing to grow rather than stay stuck. This ability to let go has lightened his spirit, making him look calmer, healthier, and more confident. It is one of the clearest signs of his transformation. When a person frees themselves from emotional pain, they begin to shine in a new way, and that new shine is exactly what people see in Johnny Depp today. Johnny Depp's transformation also stems from a deeper understanding of how fragile life can be and how important it is to value moments instead of rushing through them. Over the years, he has experienced highs that many people dream of and lows that most people never imagine. These contrasting experiences have taught him that life is not always about big achievements or constant success. Sometimes life is about slowing down, paying attention to small details, and appreciating simple joys. The kind of joys are easy to overlook when fame and pressure take over. Depp has said in past interviews that his happiest moments are not always connected to movies or awards. Instead, they come from quiet evenings with friends, meaningful conversations, playing music without cameras around, and moments where he feels free from the expectations of the world. This shift in what he values has changed the way he carries himself. He no longer appears rushed or anxious. He seems more grounded, as if he has learned to breathe deeply and live more gently. This gentle pace of life is a strong part of his transformation, and people notice in the way he smiles, the way he speaks, and the way he simply exists without the need to perform all the time. Another part of Depp's transformation comes from the role gratitude has begun to play in his daily life. After facing so many challenges, he has learned not to take support for granted. He appreciates the people who stayed beside him during difficult years, including family members, lifelong friends, and loyal fans. This gratitude has softened him, giving him a new kind of emotional openness that was not always visible before. In earlier years, he often kept his feelings hidden, protecting himself behind humor, mystery, or a rebellious attitude. But now, he expresses thankfulness more openly. When he meets fans, he looks them in the eyes, listens carefully, and responds with genuine warmth. When people show kindness, he does not brush it off. He absorbs it and reflects it back. This emotional sincerity is a visible part of his transformation. It makes him appear more human, more relatable, and more connected to the world around him. Gratitude changes people from the inside, and in Depp's case, it has softened his entire presence. His transformation also reflects a renewed sense of purpose. After going through intense public challenges, many people expected him to disappear from the industry or withdraw completely from the spotlight. But Depp chose a different path. He chose to rebuild, not in the same way as before, but in a way that feels honest to who he is now. This rebuilding process has involved choosing meaningful projects, collaborating with people he respects, and staying true to his artistic identity instead of following trends. He is not trying to be the version of himself that Hollywood once celebrated. Instead, he is redefining what his career means to him. This sense of purpose gives him a steady direction, one that brings confidence and peace. When a person knows who they are and what they want, it becomes visible in their posture, their expressions, and even the way they walk. Depp's transformation shows that he is no longer searching for approval. He is following a path he believes in, and that clarity has become a major part of his new identity. Another key element of his transformation is that he has learned to judge himself less harshly. For many years, he was his own biggest critic. He pushed himself to work harder, perform better, and meet expectations that were often unrealistic. This pressure came not only from Hollywood, but also from within. But after experiencing life's ups and downs, he has learned that being kinder to oneself is essential for happiness. Depp no longer tries to be perfect. Instead, he tries to be honest. He accepts his flaws, acknowledges his mistakes, and moves forward without carrying unnecessary self-blame. This emotional shift makes him appear more relaxed, more comfortable, and more confident. When a person stops fighting themselves, they begin to glow differently. Their energy becomes calmer. Their face looks softer, and their presence becomes more peaceful. This is exactly what people see in Depp today, a man who has stopped trying to be flawless and has started trying to be real. Johnny Depp's transformation has also been shaped by the way he rebuilt his relationship with creativity. For most of his career, creativity was tied to pressure, deadlines, massive budgets, studio expectations, and the fear of disappointing millions of fans. Every role came with intense responsibility, and over time this weight began to dull his natural joy for performing. After the lawsuits, public criticism, and years of emotional strain, many expected him to step away from all creative work permanently. But instead of running from his artistic identity, Depp returned to it with a clearer and more personal purpose. He began focusing on projects that made him feel alive rather than projects that were designed to make money or please Hollywood executives. Music, painting, character building, and storytelling once again became activities he enjoyed, not tasks he had complete. This shift in how he views his creative life plays a major role in why he seems so different now. He no longer approaches art with the weight of expectation on his shoulders. He approaches it with the curiosity of someone who has rediscovered something they love. That Depp's transformation has also been influenced by the fact that he now surrounds himself with people who bring peace instead of pressure. In earlier years, his circle included many individuals connected to chaos of fame, people seeking opportunities, attention, or financial gain. Over time, these kinds of relationships drain a person without them even realizing it. But after going through one of the most public and painful chapters of his life, Depp reassessed who he allowed into his inner world. Today, His circle is much smaller, quieter, and more supportive. Friends who value his well-being, artists who inspire him, and people who genuinely care for him have replaced the noise of Hollywood's social groups. This change in environment plays a huge role in his emotional healing. When a person is surrounded by peace, they begin to reflect that peace outwardly. This is why Depp now seems gentler, calmer, and more balanced. The energy of a person's surroundings always becomes part of their transformation, and in Depp's case, it has helped him rebuild from the inside with a new sense of stability. Another major influence on his transformation is his acceptance of aging. In Hollywood, aging can be viewed as a threat, especially for actors who build careers on charisma, youth, or unconventional charm. But instead of fighting time, Depp has learned to embrace it. He no longer tries to look like the version of himself who filmed Pirates of the Caribbean or Edward Scissorhands. He now accepts the lines on his face, the changes in his body, and the natural evolution of a life lived intensely. This acceptance has given him a new kind of confidence. It is not the bold, playful confidence of his younger years. Instead, it is a quieter kind of strength, one that comes from knowing who you are beneath all the labels, the roles, and the expectations. His transformation shows that confidence and beauty do not disappear with age. They simply change shape. And many fans have pointed out that there is something almost noble, almost poetic, in the way he carries himself now. Like a man who has lived through storms and emerged wiser, calmer, and more deeply connected to himself, that Depp's transformation is also visible in his slower, more thoughtful way of speaking. In media interviews from earlier years, he often spoke quickly, nervously, or with humor used as a shield. But in recent appearances, he speaks with a softness and clarity that comes from experience. He chooses his words more carefully, reflects before answering questions, and expresses himself with emotional honesty. His voice carries a sense of gratitude and humility, qualities that were always present but often hidden behind the whirlwind of fame. Fans notice this difference immediately. They say he sounds like a man who has finally stopped running from the industry, from public judgment, and even from himself. The gentleness in his speech is a clear sign of the emotional work he has done over the past several years. It shows that transformation is not only physical or professional. It also lives in the tone of a person's voice and the way they express their inner world. Lastly, Depp's transformation can be seen in the new balance he has created between privacy and public life. For many years, he lived under constant public attention, with cameras capturing every mistake, every argument, and every rumor. After what he experienced, he learned that protecting his mental and emotional health means creating boundaries. Now, he appears in public when he chooses to, not when the industry demands it. He shares parts of his life, but keeps the most important pieces private. This balance has allowed him to reconnect with himself without feeling watched or judged at every step. It is a powerful sign of healing. When a person learns how to protect their peace, their entire presence changes. And in Johnny Depp's case, this new balance has become one of the most striking parts of his transformation. Johnny Depp's transformation is also about reclaiming his sense of identity after years of being defined by others. For decades, his public image was shaped by the media, studios, and fans who created expectations and narratives about who he was supposed to be. The roles he played, the red carpet appearances, and even his relationships were dissected and turned into stories that often had little to do with the real person behind the celebrity. This constant external pressure can make anyone lose touch with who they truly are. But in recent years, Depp has made a conscious effort to reconnect with himself. He has returned to interests that brought him joy before fame, such as music, painting, and close friendships. He has taken time to reflect on his life, understand his experiences, and to find success on his own terms rather than letting the industry or social media dictate it. This act of reclaiming identity is central to his transformation. It is not just a physical change that fans notice, but a deeper, more profound evolution of a man who has decided to live for himself rather than for others. Another aspect of this personal evolution is how he now balances vulnerability with strength. Depp has always portrayed characters who were complex and emotionally layered, but behind the scenes, he often kept his own vulnerability hidden. The trials of recent years forced him to confront his weaknesses, insecurities, and emotional pain publicly. The court cases, the rumors, and the media scrutiny made it impossible for him to hide. Yet, Instead of allowing this vulnerability to weaken him permanently, he used it as a source of insight and growth. Today, he appears more grounded because he has faced the storms of his life directly. He has learned that acknowledging vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of courage. This maturity is evident in the calmness of his gaze, the steadiness of his demeanor, and the serenity with which he interacts with others. Fans notice that the Johnny Depp they see now is not just physically different. He carries a quiet inner strength that comes from embracing, rather than denying, the full spectrum of human emotion. That Depp's transformation also reflects a more measured approach to fame and recognition. In his earlier years, public attention was often overwhelming, leading to constant stress and anxiety. But now, he understands that true validation comes from personal fulfillment rather than external praise. He no longer seeks approval through box office numbers, award nominations, or public acclaim. Instead, he focuses on roles that challenge him creatively, music that fulfills him emotionally, and projects that resonate personally. This internal recalibration has allowed him to reclaim the joy in his work. By focusing on the process rather than the outcome, Depp experiences a sense of freedom that was absent during the peak of his fame. This freedom is a major reason why people perceive his transformation so vividly. It is not just an appearance, but in the aura of contentment and authenticity that surrounds him today. Finally, Depp's transformation shows the power of resilience and personal reinvention. He has endured childhood instability, years of industry pressure, addiction struggles, public humiliation, and intense legal battles.